Hi, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. As a reminder, with the holiday season quickly approaching, our Forever Fit Performance gift cards are back in stock. You can pick up a gift card at one or two of our locations, either our location downtown Vancouver, British Columbia on Granville and West Hastings, or our gym in Burnaby, and that is right across from the Brentwood Town Mall Center. Okay, our cards will be available at both gyms. If you don't live in Vancouver and you want us to mail you one of our gift cards, we can do that. Just email me, nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or DM me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. How it works with our gift cards, you tell us the balance that you want us to put in your gift card, and we will send that to you, and we will apply that balance to the training package, our personal training service of your friend or family member or coworker's choice, whoever you're giving the gift card to. So that person can purchase a private training package, a partner training package, a small group training package, online training package, essentially any of our personal training services, and we'll apply the credit towards that package of choice. So whether that's $200, $500, $5,000, we will apply that credit. Okay. If you'd like more information on that, please feel free to email me or DM me on Instagram, or you can track me down at our downtown gym. I will be at the downtown location throughout the week during the daytimes, and I'll be at our Burnaby location on Tuesday and Thursday night this week from 5 p.m. till 8 p.m. All right, so let's get started on this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Hi, Nick, how much protein should I be consuming each day if I weigh 200 pounds? The generic response that you're going to receive from most trainers and most fitness professionals will be to take your body weight, which in your case is 200 pounds, and times it by 1.5. And that's going to give you the amount of grams that you want to have per day. So in your case, that would be 300 grams of protein. The reason I don't recommend following generic formulas, though, when it comes to pretty much anything, not just nutritional plans, but even training programs, is because the one-size-fits-all program doesn't work long-term for most people. Now, you can start off with that formula for sure. If you want to start with a baseline, say, you know what, Nick, I just want to clean up my diet and dial it in, I see nothing wrong with starting with some generic formulas, okay? The problem is, though, as you progress with your nutritional plan, you want to make adjustments accordingly. So you don't want to stick to that same formula throughout the entire plan, because let's say you're trying to gain weight and you get up to 250 pounds of muscle. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to continue to times that by 1.5. So now you're going to consume even more protein, right? You're going to go up to what, 400 grams of protein, 500 grams of protein as you continue to put on weight. That's a lot of stress on your kidneys. And this is why it's crucial to rotate your macronutrients on a weekly or sometimes even bi-weekly basis. So what I'll do with my plan typically is maybe I'll start off let's say I'm starting a new diet plan. I might start off on 400 grams of protein, right? Based on my body weight. And then I'll adjust accordingly. I'll say, okay, I'm going to do 400 grams of protein for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But knowing that that puts a lot of stress and strain on my kidneys, my organs, maybe for another 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, I'm going to take my protein down to 100, 150 grams. I'm not going to lose any muscle from that, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust my macronutrients accordingly. So even though I'm lowering my protein, my direct protein sources, I might be increasing my fatty protein sources. So I'm still getting protein indirectly through my fatty protein sources: eggs, avocado, peanut butter, right? Salmon. So that's one way of doing it. So you don't just want to keep increasing or decreasing based on your body weight. So when it comes to these generic formulas, I'm very careful to advise people to follow them long term. As I said, if you want to start with just a baseline, just to get your diet dialed in, and you don't want to work with a personal trainer or a nutritionist or dietitian to help you along the way, I see nothing wrong with using those base formulas for the first 2 or 3 weeks. But after that, you've got to make those adjustments, because if you're not, you're going to hit a plateau. You're going to become stagnant with your results. And you risk putting, in the case of this, too much stress on your organs, right? So that's why it's important to adjust your macronutrients accordingly, okay? So to answer that question, if you're going to follow the generic formula, take your body weight, times it by 1.5, and there you go. It's 300 grams of protein. So that's what you want to start with. But as I said, make sure you adjust along the way, because you will hit a plateau. And if you don't make adjustments along the way, you're going to become stagnant with your results. All right. Next question. Hi, Nick. I can't seem to get control over my diet. Whenever I try to make it perfect, I barely last for 3 days before I screw it up. Is there anything I can do or take to help keep me on track? Nothing I'd recommend that you take, but as far as what you can do is stop trying to make your diet perfect. In all my years of working with competitors, working with everyday people, and even myself when it comes to dietary nutritional plans, I have never seen anyone, including myself, who has a perfect diet. Everyone has something that they know they consume that is not the greatest for them. Whether it's too much sugar, whether it's too much salt, maybe it's too much carbs, simple carbs, I mean, bread, pasta, alcohol. People consume things that we know are not the best for us. And it's hard because it's hard to stay 100% dedicated and consistent to your nutritional plan 24 hours a day. So I wouldn't advise you to try to be perfect, because by trying to be perfect, you're putting too much pressure on yourself. So if you're someone who knows you don't follow a very clean diet, rather than go and say, okay, I'm going to keep my diet 100% as of tomorrow. So, you know what? I'm going to try to make my diet 50% better than it is right now tomorrow. And I'm going to try to repeat that for the next 1 or 2 weeks. And then after that, I'm going to try to make it 60% better, 70% better, and so on. And then you get into that area where it's about 90% clean eating, you're good. And that's why I tell people, if you can get yourself to like that 90% clean eating, if you have 42 meals in a week, right? You're doing 6 meals a day, 7 days a week. You're doing 42 meals a day. If you can keep at least 38 of those meals relatively clean, you're doing great. Okay. And you have 4 meals, which are cheat meals, or you go out for a few drinks with a friend, or you decide that you want to have a sandwich on white bread, do it once a week. No big deal. Okay. Twice a week, no big deal. But when it becomes a daily habit, that's when it becomes a big deal. Okay. So that's what I'd recommend. Stop trying to be perfect with your diet, because when you do that, you put too much pressure on yourself. And then, like you said, it's too much. And, a lot of people can't just turn the switch like that. It doesn't happen. Some people can, but in my experience, most people, including myself, can't. So it's easier to do it, taper yourself, do it in a slow, controlled fashion. And there's no reason, I always say, there's no reason to work harder when you can just work smarter, and you ease yourself into the nutritional plan. It's the same thing I tell people when they first start working on the gym. I have a lot of people that will sign up to work with us and they'll say, I want to work out 6 days a week. And I'll go, that's great, but I wouldn't recommend you do that because you haven't been to a gym in 5-10 years. So why don't we start you off at twice a week? And you're not going to notice significant results at twice a week, but it's going to start forming a habit in your mind, in your brain, in your weekly routine. And then you can slowly start to build it up to 3 days a week, 4 days a week, right? 5 days a week. Because if you just go in from not working out at all and then say, I'm going to work out 6 days a week, you're probably not going to last, because you're going to be sore, you're going to be tired, and everything's going to hurt, and you're just going to lose that motivation. So do it. Always ease yourself into the nutritional plan, ease yourself into the workouts, and you'll see that it becomes a daily habit and it becomes much easier to sustain. Because if you can't sustain your nutritional plan, you can't sustain your workout program, you're not going to make any long-term significant results with your physique or your health. Okay. So ease into it. Stop trying to be perfect. All right. Next question. Nick, if I work out with you 5 times a week in the gym, is it necessary for me to do extra cardio on my own to lose more weight? It won't hurt. I mean, again, this will depend on what your goal is. How much weight do you want to lose and how much time? So typically when clients work out with myself or one of the trainers in the gym, we're focusing on resistance training. Yes, there's a cardio component because we usually incorporate a lot of circuit training, which you're going from one station to the next with little to no rest in between. So you are getting your heart rate up. But it's not to be confused with cardiovascular activity, because cardiovascular activity keeps your heart rate up at a consistent pace. Whereas weight training, your heart rate's going up and down. So you are getting some form of cardiovascular exercise when you are doing resistance training, but you're not doing it directly, right? If you're on a treadmill for 30 minutes, you're keeping your heart rate at a steady pace, especially if you're keeping the treadmill at, let's say, 4 miles or 5 miles an hour, right? Whereas if weight training, you do 2 or 3 sets in a row in a circuit training format, and then you go grab some water, you take a minute, maybe a minute and a half rest, so your heart rate goes down again. So it's not really cardiovascular activity. If you don't have a lot of body fat to lose, though, and I mentioned this last week on the channel, you shouldn't be relying on cardio to burn fat anyway. You should be relying on your nutritional plan, because if your diet is dialed in, you shouldn't have to do hours of cardio. Now, with this being said, my recommendation is you still want to do some form of cardiovascular activity on at least every second or third day. So as I mentioned last week on the channel, is that like my form of cardiovascular activity is walking to and from my gym, which is about a 15-minute speed walk. So I'm doing about 30 minutes per day. I don't no longer use treadmills, ellipticals. I don't do any of that stuff. And I feel like my cardiovascular endurance is excellent. Like I don't struggle to walk upstairs. I can walk miles on end. I have no problem. Okay. So to answer that question, it really depends on how much weight do you want to lose and how much time? Okay. So again, you have to manage your expectations accordingly. And B is that you want to make sure you are still doing some form of cardiovascular activity for your heart. Okay, so I wouldn't recommend just coming to see me 5 times a week, driving to and from the gym and not doing anything else. That, in my opinion, is not enough. You need to do something to challenge your heart. Okay, so it doesn't have to be on a treadmill. It can just be walking outside. But I do recommend that most of my clients try to get in at least 30 minutes 5 times a week of cardiovascular activity. And once again, cardiovascular activity does not mean you have to be walking on a treadmill or on an elliptical trainer or on a stationary bike. It could be a brisk speed walk outside, but try to keep your heart at somewhat of an elevated pace for at least 30 minutes per day. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes consistently. It can be like what I do, 15 minutes to the gym, 15 minutes back. Walk to the gym instead of drive to the gym, right? So that's a great form of just getting your cardiovascular activity in. So that's what I'd recommend. All right. Next question. Hey, Nick, will 1 to 2 workouts a week be enough to help change my body? I would like to lose my belly and add some muscle onto my frame. So as I mentioned in the second question, typically when we work with new clients, I'll generally recommend they start off on twice a week. And you're not going to notice, I always say, you're not going to notice significant changes in your physique training twice a week. The body doesn't know how many days are in a week. So if you're training two times every 7 days, you will notice some change for sure. You will notice some results of your physique, especially if you haven't done anything. But will you notice significant changes? In my experience, no. Okay, you might notice that, yeah, you're a little bit stronger and you lose a little bit more belly fat. Your arms might get a little bit bigger, but you're not going to notice dramatic changes. So I compare a lot of my clients who are self-made millionaires. When they ask me this question, I usually say, were you able to build your business in 1 or 2 days a week? And the answer they always give me is, well, no, of course not. I was working like 7 days a week, 12, 16 hours a day. I'm like, well, there you go. How do you expect to build a great physique and improve your health at 1 to 2 times a week, right? It's not going to happen. If you're serious about changing your physique and improving your health, you have to be in the gym, in my opinion, at least 5 times a week. But that's not something you just start at. That's something you build yourself up to. And some people take a little longer than others. Some people, they might be able to build themselves up to working out 5 days, 6 days a week in the gym after 3 months of training. Some people might take a whole year, and that's fine. You move at your own pace. But you have to manage your expectations accordingly. You can't just expect to be training once or twice a week in the gym and have this great physique, okay, or improve your health dramatically. You will improve it a little bit. And it's the same thing I say to my men and women who have done very well in business. I'm like, were you able to build your business working 1 to 2 times a week? No. The answer is always no. Could they have built somewhat of a decent business? Probably, but it wouldn't be like where they are at today. Right? They wouldn't be profiting millions of dollars per year. So that's the comparison that I use with a lot of my clients who are self-employed, because most of my clients are self-employed and have done quite well in life with business. So I just use that comparison over and over again. And when they see it like that, they're like, yeah, I guess I see where you're coming from. So I've got to put in the work. You put the work in business, you've got to put the work into your physique and health. Okay. So if you want my honest answer, you're not going to notice significant changes in your physique and your health training twice a week in the gym. Yes, you will notice some changes, but manage your expectations accordingly, because don't expect to see crazy results by working out twice a week. Just like if you started a business, don't expect to see crazy profit margins if you're only putting in 2 days a week, especially in the earlier stages, right? So you've got to build that up, and then you've got to build up your training tolerance. And like I said before, don't just try to go and work out 6 days a week. Build your way up to that, because once you're there, it becomes a daily habit. And then you start to really see the results with both your physique and your health. All right. Next question. Nick, I've been back training with you 4 times a week for 3 months now, and noticed that I'm losing weight without changing my diet or doing any cardio. I love it, but don't understand how this is happening. Could you please explain this to me? Yeah, so it's pretty simple. So what's happening is that now that you're resistance training again 4 times a week in the gym, you're building muscle. You're building back a foundation onto your physique. The more muscle mass you have, and I've mentioned this time and time again, the more calories your body burns in a rested state. So the reason you're becoming leaner is because you're adding more muscle mass onto your body. So you're burning more calories on a daily basis. So even though your caloric intake is probably the same as it was when you first started, before you came back to working with me, because you have more muscle mass, you're actually burning more calories throughout the day. So that's what's happening. Now, here's the thing. If you want to see further results, because that will eventually plateau, right? It will, because there's only so much you can build as a natural lifter, even as an enhanced lifter. So you can't just keep building and building muscle. So you have to change something. So if you're like, you know what, I'm happy with where I am right now, but I want to become leaner, that's when you have to start looking at your diet, right? And that's what I tell people after a few months of working with me. Hey, what's your diet look like? I don't change things right away for people. I like to really ease people into things. And I say, okay, let's look at your nutritional plan. You've made great results in the gym, but we haven't really looked at your nutritional plan. So let's take a look at that. Hey, you know what? If we dial this in and we take this out and we add this in, now we can make little tweaks to your program. And all of a sudden, wow, you're getting even better results. And then after that, if they hit another plateau, and as mentioned this last week, that's when I'll start adding in cardio as well. I'll recommend they start adding some additional cardio in to help further their results in the gym. So right now, the fact that you're getting results with just doing resistance training, not changing anything with your diet or cardio, I would keep running on that horse until it stops. And once that stops, then you have to make the adjustments. Remember, you have to keep adjusting accordingly based on your results. If you're progressing, leave everything alone. Don't change anything. Right? Stop looking to reinvent the wheel. But once you hit a plateau, and we all hit a plateau, I promise you, you will hit a plateau, then you guys start changing things. Okay? Because what happens when people don't change things when they hit a plateau, they stop seeing any results or they stop feeling results, and then they get unmotivated, they get discouraged, and what happens? They quit going to the gym. They quit on their diet plan, right? They stop all cardiovascular activity because what's the point? I'm not getting more results. And sometimes it's not necessarily adding more. It's just tweaking what you're currently doing. Okay. So it's not necessarily adding more cardio or more weightlifting or reducing more calories. Sometimes it's actually taking things off, giving your body a bit of a break. So again, that's where it helps working with a reputable, knowledgeable, and experienced personal trainer, coach that, it's a second set of eyes that can guide you along the way. Because if you're doing it yourself, it's very difficult because you start to question yourself. And the best gains I ever made when I used to compete in bodybuilding was with working with a coach. Because even though I feel like, I know a lot in this industry, it definitely helped me to have a second set of eyes. Because when you're doing it yourself, for yourself, you question yourself. And when you start questioning yourself, that's when you start to notice that the results aren't coming as much as they were before, okay, or as quickly as they were before. So I recommend continue along with a reputable, knowledgeable, experienced coach that can help you along the way. All right. Okay. Nick, how important are rest days? I like going to the gym and have time in my schedule to train every day. Will I be overtraining if I just don't take rest days, or maybe just take one when I feel I really need to? My answer to this question will not be a popular one. I think rest days are overrated. I do. Everyone says you need to take a rest day. You need to take a rest day. Okay, well, first of all, when you ask someone, why do you need to take a rest day? Well, you need your body to relax. You need to mentally unwind. You need a mental health day and all this stuff. I'm like, great, take one. But why does it have to be a rest day once every 7 days? As I mentioned earlier, your body doesn't work on a 7-day clock. You might work on a 7-day clock. Maybe you work 5 days a week and have the weekends off. But why are you subjecting your body to that same routine? It's never made sense to me at all. I've never followed that concept ever. Sometimes I feel like I can train for 30 days in a row, and I have done that. And I've never injured myself. I never felt like I was burnt out. And other times I feel like I need 2 or 3 days off from the gym, and I take it. I listen to my body. And that's why I tell my clients, listen to your body. Don't follow this concept of, well, I work Monday to Friday, so I'm going to take the weekends off because that's good for my body. Says who? There's no science backing that. Your body doesn't know if it's Monday or Saturday. I'm sorry, but that's fucking bullshit. So I don't follow into this. You need to take a rest day or you need to take 2 rest days every week. Your body does not work on a weekly basis. You take a rest day when you feel you need to take a rest day. If you need to take 2 rest days, you take 2 rest days. Okay, if you need to take 3, take 3. But at the same time, you need to listen to your body. So right now, I don't even remember the last time I took a rest day from training. I've been training consistently now, I think for 30 days. I don't think I took any rest days off. Usually when I take a rest day off, it's because I'm so busy on the floor. If I'm working from 6 a.m. to like 6 p.m. and I have online clients from 6 p.m. to maybe 10 p.m., I'm like, I probably can't fit in a workout today. But if I get one cancellation, I can guarantee you that I'm squeezing a workout in at my gym, guaranteed. But that's when I usually take a rest day because I always feel like I can do something in the gym. And that's where it comes to designing a proper training program. So if you're doing a proper training split, let's say you're training 5 days a week in the gym, day 1 chest, day 2 back, day 3 quads, day 4 hamstring glutes, day 5 biceps, triceps. You want to add a 6th day, you can throw in a shoulder workout. Like there's different ways you can do splits. But then if you want to work out 7 days in a row, you just keep repeating that split. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're training smart, that's all I'm saying. It's just train smart. Don't go in the gym and do 5 leg workouts in a row. Don't train your chest 5 times a week. Like, these are things that should seem obvious, but unfortunately they're not for a lot of people. So that's how you avoid injury, by training smart and listening to your body. So if you want my honest opinion, rest days are important, yes, but I don't think they're as important as people stress them to believe, make you believe, and tell you that you need to take a day off at least once a week. Because I question that, because I'm like, our bodies don't work on once a week or twice a week. We don't. Just because your work schedule is like that, that's not the way you do your workout program. So, I mean, if you want to do that because that fits your lifestyle, that's different. That's fine. That's your lifestyle. You work out 5 days a week because it correlates with your work schedule, do it. But don't kid yourself and think you're doing your body anything good or great. If your body doesn't need the rest day, don't take it. Okay, period. Don't follow into this generic bullshit. It's just like the first question about the formulas used for the protein and the macros, and generic formulas are great as a baseline, but if you want serious long-term results, you have to adjust the program specifically for you, okay? And that is the only way to establish concrete, long-lasting results. All right, next question. Nick, do you recommend changing up your training style as you get older? I'm turning 54 this month, and I'm just curious if I should be doing anything different in the gym as I age. I've been working out for 34 years, 4 to 5 times a week. Thanks, Nick. That's a good question. So as you get older, ideally, you'd like to think you could still train how you trained when you were in your 20s, when you're in your 50s. And listen, there are some guys that still can do that. I'm getting close to my 40s now. I'm in my late 30s, and I feel like I have more energy and more strength now than I did in my 20s. So I feel better, right? So I always like to think that I'm aging backwards. But I do notice that there's some things in the gym that I have to watch for now more than I had to watch for when I was in my early 20s. So like, for example, your joints, there's more mileage on your body. So your joints start to stiffen up more easily, right? You might need more warm-up sets. There's certain exercises like deadlifts that you may have been able to do in your 20s that you can no longer do in your 30s or your 40s, or in your case, your 50s, just because, again, more wear and tear on the body. So you have to learn to make adjustments. And I made a post about this last week on my Instagram. Is one of the reasons that I've been able to last so long in this game, and knock on wood again, injury-free, is because I've learned to make adjustments along the way. Whereas a lot of people don't want to make those adjustments. They want to go into the gym and they still want to lift the same weight they were lifting in their 20s, now if they're in their 40s and 50s. And the reality is, some people can do that, but most people can't do that. So you have to, again, start to think outside the box and think strategically in how you're going to approach each and every workout. Just because you used to squat 315 when you were 25 doesn't mean you need to be or should be squatting 315 when you're 55. If you can still challenge your body without lifting ridiculously heavy weights. The one thing I tell a lot of my clients as they age is you're putting more mileage on your body. You're not some fragile little boy or little girl. You're still an adult, and you still want to train yourself intensely, and you don't want to treat yourself like you're a fragile victim. You want to go in and lift heavy weights, but you also want to make sure that you're lifting with proper form and technique and you're not risking injury. So should you adjust your training style as you age? I think you should, but I don't necessarily think that you should go easy on yourself. I just think you should make the proper adjustments as you develop into, or as your physique develops over time, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to start reducing the intensity or start training less or decreasing all your weights. It just means that you might have to think more methodically towards how you approach each workout. As I said, you might need a few more warm-up sets. You might no longer feel like your joints can handle squatting 315. So squat 225, but maybe put that squat into a third or fourth exercise instead of your first one. So it's just as intense for you, right? So I think it's important to adjust your program as you age, but I don't think you necessarily have to decrease your intensity. Okay. If anything, I think you should try to keep your intensity the same. Just make the proper adjustments. And the best way to do that is to listen to your body. Okay. If you've been training for 34 years, you probably have a great mind to muscle connection. So you know how to listen to your body. But don't fall into that concept as now I'm 55 or 54. I have to train like the average 55 or 54-year-old. Don't fall into that, because the average 55 or 54-year-old doesn't do anything when it comes to health and fitness. So if you're someone who is an avid weightlifter, you go to the gym on a regular basis, you exercise 3, 4, 5 times a week, those rules don't apply to you, right? You still want to challenge your body. Your body's healthy, it's fit, challenge it. Just make sure you make the proper adjustments as you age. Okay. Hi, Nick. Now that I work from home, I have the option to either train early in the morning or at the end of the day. Would it be better to train in the morning or at night if my goal is to add on more muscle? Honestly, that question really depends on your lifestyle. What works better for you? Are you a morning person or are you a night person? Because quite honestly, it doesn't really make a difference. I've done both. I've tried training at first thing in the morning. I've trained at 5 a.m. I've trained at 11 o'clock at night. And honestly, it didn't make much of a difference for my results. You really just have to base on your personality and your lifestyle. If you are a morning person, you'll probably get more better results training first thing in the morning. Like I have some clients who like to come in and train at 7 a.m. in a fasted state. They get the best workouts. But those same clients see me at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. Their workouts aren't nearly as good because their body clocks are not adjusted to training at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. They've been training at 7 a.m. for the past 5, 10 years. So as soon as you put them on a different hour, they've had a little bit more food in them. They might feel a little more lethargic. And as the day progresses, don't forget, these are morning people. They've been up for like 7 or 8 hours already. So they're getting a little bit more tired. Whereas someone who typically likes to work out at night, maybe they wake up at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. They work out better with a few meals in them. Their body clock responds better to working at night. So I've never noticed a difference with myself or anyone else I've worked with, what time of day they train at. It's just, you have to fit what fits your lifestyle. What I wouldn't recommend doing though is training one day in the morning, one day at night. I've had to do that, especially when I first started my business, because I would just train whenever I could. And that was hard because what happens is it kind of screws up your body clock. So some of my workouts would be at 5 a.m. for 2 or 3 days, and some of my workouts would be at 10 p.m. for 2 or 3 days. And it just screwed up my sleep patterns. It screwed up my diet. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. What I would recommend doing is trying to find a consistent time slot that you can train on a weekly basis. I know that's not always possible with most people's schedules, but like if you can, if you're a morning person, just try to get that workout in between 6 a.m. or 12 p.m. And if you're more of an evening, late afternoon person, just try to get that workout between say 2 p.m. and say 8 or 9 p.m. And just try to do that in a consistent period of time. Because I feel like if you're going from the AM to the PM back and forth, it's not good for your body clock. So that's the one thing I would recommend is try not to do that. Obviously, there might be times where you have to do that. Like I said, when I first started my business, I had to do that. I had no choice. But now that I no longer have to do that, I won't. I typically will try to get my workouts in either mid-morning, or if I really am in a jam and I have meetings all morning, then I'll do it early afternoon. But rarely will I be at the gym at like past 6 o'clock at night doing a workout because it screws up my body clock. It screws up my sleep pattern and it screws up my next day, which unfortunately screws up my next workout. Okay. So just try to find a consistent time slot that works for you and stick with that time slot. Whether that's morning or night or late afternoon, that's irrelevant. Okay. Next question. Hi, Nick. How can I convince my partner to start exercising and eating better? He's put on quite a bit of weight since COVID, and I worry about his health. In my experience, you can't and shouldn't want to force anyone to do something that they don't want to do. Now, if it's your partner, you can express your concern that it's affecting their health. If they're not exercising regularly, they're not following a clean diet, you can express concern and say, I'm a little bit worried about your health. It's like if your partner smokes, you can't force the person to quit, but you can say, I am concerned. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes the partner's like, they look at that and they're like, you know what, you're right. I need to make a change. It helps if you yourself work out regularly and follow a clean diet. Because if you don't do that and you're just telling the person, hey, I'm concerned because you're putting on weight, that's not really good. So you need to lead by example. So for example, anyone I've ever been with, I've never really lectured them on their diet. I've never lectured them on their training. If they ask me a question about the diet or training, I'm happy to help them. But I never say, hey, you should be going to the gym, or hey, you shouldn't eat that. They're an adult. They can make that choice. But I can express my concern and say, hey, I think you're having too much sugar in your diet. Or, I think that you should be going to the gym, or just thinking about going to the gym because it can add all these benefits. I don't tell them they need to. I just give them my opinion as to what the benefits could be from following somewhat of a clean diet. So as I said, you shouldn't necessarily tell someone, I shouldn't say that I tell them they should do something, but I just remind people of the benefits of working out on a regular basis and following a relatively clean diet. But I never told someone they need to do something or they should do something, because I don't think, listen, we're adults. People know. So again, you can express your concern, but lead by example. So if you're at home and you're cooking all your meals, you're eating clean, you offer to cook them a meal, or you offer to take them to the gym and show them a few things, you're doing your part. You're not forcing them and say, hey, I'm going to the gym. You want to come with me for a workout? right? I've done that before. Same thing with the diet. Hey, I'm cooking up a few meals. Would you like one? Right? So you can only do so much, but I wouldn't try to force someone to make changes with their lifestyle because they're going to resent you for it. So as I said, we're all adults. If you're concerned, tell your partner that you're concerned with their health. And don't be afraid to even tell them, hey, I've noticed you put on a bit of weight. I don't think that's mean. I don't. I think that's actually a reality check. I've told clients when I see them, if I haven't seen a client for a long time and they come see me after 3 or 4 months layoff, I'll say to them, if they have, I'll say, oh, you put on some weight. And that's not me being mean. That's me being honest, right? Or I'll tell the person, you used to lift a lot heavier than you're lifting right now. It's because you were out of the gym for 3 to 6 months, right? And they know that. It's a reminder like, hey, do you want to feel like this or do you want to get back to where you were, right? And also remind people as to how you felt when they were with your partner. You said your partner put on weight. You say, hey, remember when you were you had a little bit less of a gut? Remember when you were actually able to go for walks? Remember when you were going to the gym? And I really like when you're like that because you're a little more ambitious. You had more energy. You were more positive, right? And just remind people of how they used to be when they were in shape, if they were in shape, right? And that sometimes that will help too. But I wouldn't recommend telling someone what they should do because again, most adults know what they should do. And they're probably going to resent you for it. All right. Last question. Nick, what do you recommend people do with their diets over the holidays? I have 6 work functions to attend over the next 2 weeks and then have family and friends, Christmas parties on top of this. I find it so hard to stay on track during this time of year. Yeah, good question. So typically what I recommend most people do is when they're attending all these functions, I always tell my clients, eat before you go. And that way you're going to eat less food. So if you're going to like a buffet, if you have one of your clean meals or 2 or 3 of your clean meals prior to going to this buffet, you're not going to be craving a whole bunch of the bad food that's out there. So you're going to eat less. Okay. You might have 1 or 2 drinks, but your intake of food will be less because you've already consumed your meals for the day. So that's one thing I do. I'll usually eat most of my meals throughout the day and I'll just kind of graze on the food that's available if I have any of it at all. If you're going out for dinner, that's a little different because you've got a meal in front of you. So I practice portion control then. So typically I'll look for something that's the healthiest option on the menu, and I'll usually eat about 3/4 of that meal. Rarely will I eat an entire meal when I go to a restaurant. Rarely. The only time I'll do that is if I'm absolutely starving. But usually when I go to a restaurant, I eat about 3/4 of the meal and I leave the rest. I don't eat the rest. Okay. And the reason for that is because I don't want to load up on that type of food. Okay. So that's my recommendation. Don't overindulge on the bad food. Plan accordingly. Be strategic with your nutritional plan before you go to these events. Second thing is do not stop going to the gym. One thing I noticed in December, especially early in December now, with the holiday parties starting earlier and earlier now, a lot of people start skipping their workouts because a lot of people go into that mindset, well, it's the holidays now, I'm going to go for a few drinks, eat. I've got a stressful few days of Christmas shopping and all this stuff. And so they miss the gym. I'm like, that's nonsense. The holidays are not an entire month. What are they, like a week? Really, they're really just 2 or 3 days. So you have to stay consistent on your workouts. You can't take the entire month of December off because it's Christmas, New Year's. You can't. Okay. Because that will really set you back. And that combined with bad food will set you back. So you have to stay consistent with the gym. If anything, you should be working out more. Okay, especially if you are taking holidays off from work. Even if you're going on vacation, go to a place where there's a gym in a hotel. Most hotels have gyms now. So that way you really don't have that excuse, I have no time to work out. Of course you have time to work out. You're taking holidays. You have nothing but time to work out. So whenever I have people that go away on the holidays, I say, make sure you're staying at a place that has a gym or that there's a gym close by that you can do a drop-in for a week. Right? Because really, what are you going to do? You're going to sit around for 24 hours a day and overindulge in crap and drink. There's going to be hours in that day where you're going to have nothing to do. And those are the hours where you should be plugging in your workouts. So I always tell clients during the holiday season, you should be working out more, not less. Okay. So work out consistently. And then remember to plan your diet accordingly. If you have a work function at night, there's going to be bad food, make sure you get at least 5 of your clean meals in throughout the day. So when you get to that function, you're not even hungry. You're like, oh, I might have 1 or 2 options here that like bites of something like a sausage roll or a crab cake or something, but that's it. And you know what? Most people don't even notice. because I've gone to a lot of these functions over the years, and most people don't even notice that I avoid the food. And it's not because I have an eating disorder. I just don't want to put that crap in my body because I know I'm going to feel like shit the next day. So I don't want to feel like shit the next day. So I don't overindulge in that type of food. At the same time, I don't want to be rude. So if I'm going to someone's house for a dinner, I'll eat 3/4 of that meal. If I'm going to a restaurant, same thing. I'll eat 3/4 of that meal. It's not something I do on a daily basis, so I don't worry about it. I don't say, well, I had that meal, I have to work out extra hard the next day. No, I just continue along with my workout program. So that's what I'd recommend. Practice portion control, train consistently throughout the holidays, and it shouldn't affect your results or your weight. Anyway, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Tuesday, December the 5th. As a reminder, if you have any questions with regards to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me, nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching. Thank you guys for supporting my channel. Thank you for supporting my business, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.